Hey friends, Allison here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a new layout to share with you that is going inside my December daily. It is a layout that is going inside a page protector, but it's also going outside of the page protector. I am going to be creating a flap, so half of the layout will be hanging outside of the page protector and the other half will be located inside. I began by trimming some blue cardstock down to 6 by 8 inches. I printed my photo at 6 by 8 as well, and then I trimmed it down to 5.75 by 7.75 inches. Brought it over to the Cricut, threw it onto the mat, and sliced the word home out of it. I am so thrilled with how this came out. When I sat down last night to design this layout, the idea hit me as I was moving things around and trying to figure it out. And this picture had come to mind because I knew that there was a lot of white space in the sky at the top of the photo, and it would work perfectly with this. So, like I said, I sliced the word home out of the photo, and I'm just putting in the insides into the H, the O, and the E. I must have thrown out the little bitty piece that goes in the letter M, which it's minor, it's no big deal. I actually totally forgot that I had lost it until right now doing the voiceover. Once that was done, I knew that I wanted to stamp the phrase "for the holidays" beneath the word home. I'm still toying with the idea of adding "I'll be," so that the entire title is "I'll be home for Christmas" or "I'll be home for the holidays." But I just leave it at "home for the holidays" for right now. I use Stays On jet black ink to stamp directly to the photo. That's an excellent ink to stamp onto photo paper if that is what you are interested in doing. Pardon my big old head. And I've learned through trial and error, do it very slowly and take your time doing it because it does slip and slide. So to prevent that, just be very slow. So now this is part 2 of my layout. I trimmed another piece of blue cardstock to 6 by 8 inches. Then I took some white cardstock and trimmed it down to slightly smaller than that, the same size as the photo. So it is 5.75 by 7.75. And then I used the right function to draw a pattern onto the white cardstock. So those are the blue lines that you're seeing in the background. I absolutely love how this page turned out as well. I'm getting brave in my old age, trying new things that I haven't done before. I actually happened to find this design in Cricut Design Space totally by fluke. I was looking for a line, just a regular old line, and this image, the bunch of lines, caught the corner of my eye, and so I selected it, plopped it into the background, and it's amazing. So I added my journaling over top of that. I used my computer to type it out and then printed it with my printer. There is a lot of space down at the bottom of this page that actually wasn't part of my original design, but it actually worked out in my favor. I stamped another phrase above the houses that I'm just playing with right now, which are also die cuts made with my Cricut. So I turned to Elle Studio and pulled out the Title Builder Volume 5 stamp set to stamp a phrase at the bottom of the journaling and just above those little houses. I also knew that I wanted to pull in some of these white acrylic shapes from Close to My Heart as well. They are hearts. I took varying sizes of hearts and colored them in with my red Spectrum Noir marker. Actually, I think it's like deep red is the technical term for it. I used the darkest shade in the Tri-Blend marker. And this time I also made sure to color in the sides just to hide any of the white. Because they're so small, tweezers is really handy. because it's really finicky. I had a heck of a time hanging on to them with my own fingers. My eagle talons got in the way, especially with the littlest of them. So I fumbled my way through it and eventually got it done, but definitely make sure you have tweezers on hand and short nails. Okay, so now that's done. I'm using my liquid glue to adhere it to just above the houses, I do believe. Oh, I'm back to the title page again because I'm adding a heart to this house as well. And I think this is the tiniest of the ones that I added. And like I said, I had a heck of a time trying to get this one colored. I cut all that footage out because literally it was flying around my desk as I was trying to hang on to it. Words were spoken. I won't say what words, but words were spoken. Because I don't know about you, but I am the biggest klutz, honestly, in the universe. So once that is done, I am moving on to part 3 of today's layout. So this part of the layout essentially is just a filler. It doesn't really have anything important in it other than I wanted to try out this technique. Layout that Katie Taylor had done over on her channel for her December daily. I will link her down in the description box below so you can check out the original and the brainchild behind this idea. She created her own shiplap using white cardstock that were trimmed into strips and a light colored ink. I used Pebble to create shadows. And I ink blended all around the edges to create that shadow. The very first one I did all 4 edges, and then all the other ones I just did 3 edges because they'll be tucked up underneath the one above it, like you can see I'm doing in the layout right now. This was labor intensive. It did take a little bit of time to get it done, but I really like the way that it turned out. It's not straight, my strips, at all. I was trying to use my craft mat to keep them straight, but I failed epically. But that's fine. I die cut a wreath with my Cricut as well, and I'm going to place it over top of the shiplap. I was really thinking of like a giant door or, a wall somewhere in somebody's house that would have a wreath hanging on it, and that's basically what this page is. So I trimmed off all the excess that was hanging off. I'm re-inking the edges of these bits of paper, and there was a tiny little bit of paper down at the bottom of the page. I could have cut one more strip, but it was so thin I decided not to and just ink blend the bottom of the white layout base that everything was glued to anyways. It worked the same way. Now I am working on my wreath. I die cut it from blue cardstock and the ribbon is from red cardstock. Once that's done, I'm going to use the sheet of red cardstock that all the little berries, all those little red dots to the left of the wreath came from. I'm using it as a template just to make sure I get all those berries in the right spots. I used some washi tape just to hold it in place so that it wasn't, flying around as I was trying to do things, getting stuck to me. I also had an interesting time trying to fit all of these little dots back into the original spaces they came from. I don't think they're matched up perfectly, but in the end, you never know. So there's all the berries. I'm going to glue it with my liquid glue to my shiplap base. And then I'm going to use some of these phrases from Elle Studio. I'm going to use the word home to layer over top of the wreath. I really liked both places that I auditioned the word home for. I really liked it over where the knot would be in the bow, but I also liked it on that bottom right as well. In the end, it stayed in the bottom right. My gut now watching this is saying I should have left it over where the knot would be. But c'est la vie. Again, like I said, I liked both spots, so either way, it was a win. I also decided to add one more heart over top of the home just to make sure everything is cohesive and you know that it belongs together. I used all the same colors between all 3 pages, and there's hearts across all 3 pages as well. So this is the last heart. It's going to go in between the O and the M on the word home. I'm using liquid glue to adhere that as well. Plunk that on top. I put something heavy on top of it just to make sure that it adhered and stays there securely. And then I went into my stash and pulled out this red shimmer brush from Close to My Heart. I think this is probably the first time I've ever used it, or if I have used it before, I'm totally forgetting. But I added it to all the red spots on the wreath. It was really juicy. You can see the packaging to the top right. I was kind of like trying to dab some of it off before I started coloring because there was so much of the liquid coming out. In the end, there are some splatters around the page. I didn't want them to be there. I couldn't help it. I don't know when it happened. So they're there. It's right by the word home, and it's not a lot. So, oh well. I am just rearranging my little shiplap, and here I lost the footage for putting everything together. I don't quite know what happened, but you get close-ups instead. Thank you so much for joining me today, friends. I hope this layout inspired you. I hope you're enjoying my December Daily series, and I hope you return again. I'll be back again soon with more creative inspiration. Bye, friends.